and you join us for round number 2 of season 4 here, Knights Racing League Nights. And today we are at Watkins Glen in the hills of New York. First started on public roads back in 1948. This track was commissioned by the SCCA, finally moving to a permanent facility several years later. Since then, it's hosted just about every motorsport from all around the world, including Formula One for 20 years straight, back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Today, it's going to hold host to some of the best GT3 racing has to offer. Coming in from last week, Sebastian Trujillo swept the field at the opening round in Barcelona, taking every qualifying and race session in dominating fashion. But today, a little bit different in the pro field. Things have been shaken up, and these guys are out for blood and out to take victory away from Sebastian Trujillo. This is one of our 2 endurance rounds this year. They're going to be an hour-long format, slightly different. Usually we do 2 short sprint races, 20 to 25 minutes, but this is going to be an all-out hour-long battle with 2 required pit stops along the way. Let's go down and take a look through the starting grid. And taking pole position for this race is going to be AJ Patton, the Rusty's number 95. Had 3 pole positions last year, looking to repeat that. Justin Wills starting alongside. The second row is going to be Hugo Bussy and Sebastian Trujillo. And row number 3, Riley Chunko starting alongside Andrew Moreau in 6th. 7th and 8th going to be Spencer Green and Tyler Bell. And 9th and 10th belonging to Blake Mulkey and Wesley Barker. Luke Trujillo starting in 11th and Bronson alongside him. Azale and Ramos in 13th and 14th place. JJ Elliott in 15th alongside Matthew Restrepo. And 17th going to Justin Corrale. Cooper Trimble starts alongside. Back row of the grid going to Nick Mead and Oscar Diaz. I'm your commentator, Riley Chunko. And I'm now going into my 2nd season. It's been a fantastic ride, and it's been great to see the sport grow as we go into season number 4. But yeah, full attendance here today for this day to night race. We're gonna start in the evening sunlight and we're gonna end underneath the lights. And here's a quick look at our roster. We have 7 or 8 pro guys. Mostly the field's made up with inter drivers. We have a couple AM as well. Schedule's 10-round schedule. As you can see, we have 2 endurance races. The dominant car this year has definitely been the Ferrari 296. Almost half the field lining up in the Ferrari. And those cars have looked awfully quick in practice. We have 3 of them inside the top 10. They would be dangerous. Justin Wills in the Bentley, and we heard last week complaining, and all throughout this week in practice, complaining with issues. We'll have to see, was he able to overcome them in practice and get that setup down. He certainly did well to qualify on the front row of the grid, but we'll have to see if he can carry that pace into the race. Final turn now, heading down towards the front straightaway where they'll get the green flag. And we're going racing. The green flag is up, throttles are down for the Watkins Glen 1 hour. As we see Patton on the inside, Bussy trying to make it 3 wide. It's 3 wide for 2 rows. Green shoots up the inside of Chunko. Chunko, Moreau, and Green goes for a spin, and Chunko, Moreau go past into the top 5. And they're still side by side up the S's. Moreau's going to have to concede the position for now, as Bussy jumped out to the lead. As Spencer Green and AJ got collected in that turn 1 crash on the exit. As we see Wills off wide on the exit of the bus stop. And Andrew Moreau has lost a couple more positions as well now. Down from the start, Wesley Barker's now gotten around him. That's going to push him back to 8th. as we see Tyler Bell all over the back of Chunko here in this exit, looking to make a move down into turn 7, and he's going to go in too deep, and he's going to send Chunko off into the barriers. And Chunko's off, trying to rejoin, and Moreau's going to slot back in front. So Chunko falling from 3rd back to 8th. Contact there. Bell trying to make the overtake. And the stewards are going to want to take a closer look at that. And that has got to be frustrating. Under the cockpit, you see Chunko sliding on exit, clearly losing a bit of focus now. And that's super frustrating as we see Moreau trying to look for a move on Barker. Not sure that's going to Moreau off the start. Clearly faster car. Chunko's going to slide underneath. Moreau had to check up because of Barker. And now Chunko is back up into 6th place, or into 7th place. Can Moreau make a move? He peeks out to the inside, not going to have enough into turn 1. Chunko going to defend position as they both hunt down Barker in the Lexus. And we go back to a replay from the start. Let's take a look what happened again in closer detail. As we see rows 1 and 2, both 3 wide. Green going to shoot up the inside in the 2nd row. As we see Patton slides on the exit, and that collects Green, and they both go out. Looks like Patton got on the curb, got loose, maybe into the side of Wills. And those two had it coming together. And that ruined both AJ and Spencer's race. And we're going to go on board here. This is the Huracan of Andrew Moreau for the race start. Nice getaway. Lucy with a great launch there. Able to take it 3 wide. And watch, AJ just does not make that braking zone. He slides up the track and spins himself with contact with Wills. Yeah, he came in with a lot of speed. Oh, and Moreau up on the marbles. That explains what happened. He went backwards and it clobbered the curve. Did well to keep it out of the wall. That was impressive. That could have been the end of his race in the first couple corners. But yeah, looking out big time there. Got on the marbles. Looks like Chunko pushed him a little wide too, which certainly didn't help. As we look back to the field, that's Trujillo coming up. Luke Trujillo, that is. Oh, and he goes for a spin on lap 1, and that is what sent him back. Had wondered, I saw on the leaderboard, but wasn't sure we got confirmation there. Spinning through the bus stop. And that sent him all the way to the back on lap 1. As we go back to the field now. And Justin Corrale is going to go for a spin in the exit of 7. And that put him in the wall. Looks like just a little too early on the throttle. As we now see him rejoin. And off again. He's really struggling. I wonder how much damage he must have picked up, and everyone's going by him. Even Spencer Green going past. Oh, and they make contact there. There's a big stack up here. More spinning, more contact. Diaz and Luis came together, and that's more contact. And of course, Spencer Green collected in it again. As we see Calamity in the back of the field. And this is more so what we expect as we see teams having to dive into the pits. As we go back to the battle for the lead, this is live. And it's Hugo Bussey trying to defend off Justin Wills. Hugo able to jump to the lead after AJ pushed Wills wide, and now Wills all over the back in that Bentley. And this Bentley has fantastic speed down the street. Will he be able to make a move into the bus stop? We'll have to see. He certainly looks close enough. And I just know that Porsche's mirrors are full of that huge Bentley. But Bussey doing well to stay in front for now and handle the pressure. As we see Bell trying to get on the action as well. If these two fight side by side enough, it may allow Bell to get involved. But right now, Bussey can't think about that. As Wills shoots to the inside, he looks to make a move. Bussey going to give him the space. And it's just enough to fit a Bentley in. and he's going to go through, and Wills is going to move to the lead of the race here on lap number 2. And can Bell now make a move on Bussey as well? Or will Bussey be able to fight back and retake this lead? And this is fantastic racing from Justin Wills, who said he didn't like this car at all, didn't want to even go through this race in the Bentley, but spent a lot of work in practice, and it seems like they may have been able to figure something out, and it's put him back into the lead. As we see Sebastian now working his way through the field, ended up starting last. He's going to go for a nice move on the inside of Bronson. Bronson running way wide out the marbles. And Sebastian up to 16th from the back row of the grid. Can he work his way forward? We'll have to see. He has an hour to do it. Will it be enough after that dominating victory last weekend? As we go back up front to the battle between Barker, Chunko, Moreau for 5th place now. And Barker definitely seeming to hold the other two up, but this is a tricky place to make a pass if you don't have the bravery required to do it. We'll see if Chunko is able to make this pass. He's all over the back of Barker out of turn 1. Touch through the S's. Barker gonna edge one out to a couple car lengths now. And Barker bending off. Chunko running a bit too deep there, running wide in turn 6. And he really wants to get this pass done. He's trying to play it forward, frustrated after that race start. Barker gonna run wide. And Chunko side by side is able to sweep underneath. He is. Now Moreau looks for a pass into turn 7. What will Moreau be able to do? He's going to dive up the inside. Barker going to leave him the space. And they're going to exit side by side. Who's going to have the power down the straightaway? Will it be Moreau in that Lamborghini? No, he's going to have to tuck back in. Barker got the drive around the outside line. And Moreau thinking about a move into turn 8, but he's going to hold off. Just sticking his nose in there, showing that he's there and that he wants to make this pass. Anything he can do to throw off Barker just a little bit, as he's all over the back of it. Exit the corner. And carrying so much speed, he's glued to his gearbox. Wesley doesn't have the speed through here. He's pushing him, and he's going to spin him. He's going to make contact, and it's going to spin the car and Barker into the wall in the final turn. And Andrew had enough of that. He was held up as he almost takes out Azale, rejoining. Barker almost taking out several cars there on the rejoin. But Andrew had had enough as we look to go on board now. This is Sebastian Trujillo in the Ferrari backup in the back of the field. He's trying to play cool. He's chasing his father. Also in the Ferrari, will he be able to catch him up and make this move quickly? And how hard will his dad fight him in this position, knowing his son's the faster car? Oh, as Louis is going to spin on his own, and that makes that problem real easy to solve. As he's just going to be able to slot right past him. And you surely got to think that he's going to be asking on the radio if his dad is okay. As we see closing up rapidly on Isaac here. Really make a move. Isaac running way wide. And missing the apex. There's a huge amount of overspeed. Will he get this done? And Sebastian getting a bit loose there, not able to quite make a move. But he's been on a roll so far. He's up to 8th place already in just a short amount of time. He's already more than halfway up the field. He's all over the back of Isaac through these final 2 corners. Will he be able to make a move here? Will he have to wait until turn 1? Let's see. Isaac missing that apex. Sebastian going to slot underneath, and that's a very similar move to what Chunko did to Moreau earlier. It's very easy to miss that apex on entry, and Isaac did, and that gave up the position. Sebastian slotting himself into 7th place now. As we go back, a race replay. This is Cooper Trimble trying to overtake Louis. And he gets loose on exit and hard into the barriers in that purple Porsche. Wow. And is he going to be able to rejoin safely? Looks like he is. Oh, but spinning again. That's disastrous. He's fallen now out of the top 10. Finally able to get it going safely. And very fortunate they didn't hold anyone up, although he's holding up Omar now. As Omar going to slot underneath Cooper, trying to regain his bearings. Trying to see if there's any damage. You wonder, will he come into the pits now early? As we move up to Blake, chasing down Tyler Bell. This is for third place. This is for the podium overall. Blake in that green Mercedes. Lost out on the AM Championship last year in the final round, heartbreaking fashion, and he's trying to find himself again in this season. And fighting up front for the overall podium is a great way to do that. Can he catch up and pass Tyler Bell before the end of this lap? And Blake pouring the pressure on, not quite fast enough to make a move on Tyler, but able to stay there. Tyler cannot make any mistakes, or Bell will be able to slip, or Blake will be able to slip past. As Blake too wide on the entry, he's going to spin hard into the wall in the final turn. He got on the grass, that unsettled the car. And unfortunate for Blake, this is exactly what we saw last season. This is the type of stuff that cost him the title. These unforced errors, he's up front fighting for a podium. Now he has to dive into the pits to fix damage. And now that's so frustrating to see for a guy who was running up front who looked really fast. As we go back on board to the leader, Justin Wills. He's pulled out a safe 3-second gap on Hugo. And again, seems like he's actually adapted to the car quite well throughout the week. And now that night's coming, it may be an advantage with those tires. You know, cooler temperatures may be able to help him to keep this victory. As you know, Hugo Bussy and Bussy Racing, they're very good with setups, especially for long-range endurance. So it'll be interesting to see if Hugo can actually play back into this race with some tire strategy, maybe some superior tire wear at the end. But for now, Justin Wills took that lead back from the front row. Justin Wills, another driver who missed out on the title last year for Pro Class, but looking to make this title mount this year. As we go back on to Andrew Moreau here, top 5, as he's going to get loose on turn 7 and get on the grass, and again another spin. Watkins Glen so treacherous, no runoff, you're right into the grass, and that's going to cause any amount of overstep. You're just going to spin. As we see Sebastian go past, so that's Moreau out of the top 5 now. It looks like he's going to hang on to 6, and it'll be interesting to see, will this damage be enough to draw him into the pit lane, or will he be able to stay out? Zale now primed to try and make a move here on the injured Lamborghini. As we go back to Tyler Bell, still holding on in 3rd with a decent bumper back and forth of Riley Chunko, and you know Chunko will want to do everything he can. Once he saw that Tyler was in front, he's going to want to try and close up this gap and maybe get some revenge. But Tyler Bell has had some really good pace since the opening parts of this race, and he's been able to separate himself from the rest of the field. As we see headlights turning on, it's starting to come down into night, and those cooler temps are going to play a factor with the tire wear, tire pressures. And we'll have to see how the teams account for that throughout the night with their 2 mandatory pit stops. Let's go back on board with Andrew Moreau. Now back to 6th place. And he's going to bobble, takes too much entry curve there in the bus stop, and he's going to go for another spin, and that's hard. Straight into the wall there on the exit of the bus stop. That's another mistake. That's 2 mistakes in 2 laps. for Moreau, and now that's a lot of damage. He's going to have to come in. You see the front of that car is all tore up. And that's frustrating for your defending champ. Struggling today, seeing the race start to get away from him here early. As we go here now to Spencer Green, down in 14th place. And you can see Blake just up the road in 13th as we see Hugo Bussy go around. He's already lapping these guys this early in the race. That shows the big pace difference between these AM and Inter guys. And it's unfortunate to see Spencer Green, who started in the front 3 rows in the pro class, already now back in 14th, already a lap down. After that unfortunate contact with AJ, AJ spun off the start. And we know it's a little under the radar, but Spencer has been getting those setups from Hugo Bussy. Bussy Racing has been helping him out on the data side, a bit of a satellite team. And it'll be interesting to see the pace throughout this season, if that's able to help Spencer Green out at all. Let's go back on board here to Cooper. Fell outside of the top 5 with the spin. Can he get back in to the top 10? As we see Moreau now, the car he's going to have to pass. Moreau coming into the pit lane now to finally repair that damage. It was too much. So Cooper's going to take that 10th spot back. And he's looking in front, but that's just a lapper car. That is either Blake or Restrepo. But that looks like, yeah, confirmation that's Restrepo's car, already 2 laps down. Only 7 laps into the race, he's already 2 laps down. As you go back to Louise, chasing down Wesley Barker. This is for 6th place. Barker managed to get up front early on, but now just starting to trend backwards, and he's just going to let Louise by. Doesn't even want to fight it. It's going to hurt his race to try and defend too much. It might just be better to just let the faster cars by. But yeah, this family, the Trujillos, they've both been really fast. As we see his son's now already up to 5th place. As we go back to Blake now, back in 13th. Remember, just a couple laps ago, he was on the podium, or fighting for the podium with Tyler Bell. And he's going to overshoot in turn 1. And he's overcooked it, and he's very fortunate that there's a huge amount of runoff there. But he's losing spots. You see a couple cars slot in front of him there. And again, just these unforced errors are his own undoing. Has the raw pace, but just not able to keep it mistake-free throughout a race. We go back to Sebastian Trujillo now, hunting down the rest of the top 5. He's finally made it all the way from the back of the grid. Only 8 laps. He's charged to the front. He's trying to charge even further, and he's trying to track down the other Ferraris of Riley Chunko and Tyler Bell. Chunko first up on the menu. And we expect this pass to get done relatively soon. He's had a huge amount of speed, one of the fastest cars on track. As the circuit's now fully dark, as the sun's all but set here in New York, temperature's starting to drop. And we see these 3 Ferraris, 3, 4, and 5. Clearly one of the faster cars, and for good reason. And there's a buffer there. AJ in between Sebastian and Chunko. Will he pull over? We know how he is. And he's flashing his lights at Chunko in front, even though he's a lap down. And that's exactly what we'd expect from a fierce competitor like AJ. It doesn't matter if he's racing you for position or not, he's gonna race you. As we have 3 Ferraris, and only 2 of these are for position, but AJ doesn't seem to have the memo. He dives to the inside of Chunko like he's racing for 4th place. and that's going to allow Sebastian to get the inside. AJ ran Chunko a little high on the exit, and now Sebastian sweeps through, and that's up into 4th place for him. And Sebastian now has slided all the way up into 4th place. He's charged all the way from the back of the grid. Had a penalty he had to take, and it forced him to start from the back. And your championship leader, who's made such a statement last week and a real statement drive, is looking to make another statement by driving from the back all the way to the front. So he's got to get around AJ Patton first. Started on the front row, but had it all fall apart when he ran wide in turn 1, and now he's all the way back in 10th place. As we go. As we switch to Isaac Azale, all by himself here back in 12th. Isaac been on a big driver progression this year. He hasn't taken anyone out yet, which is a big change up from last year. Drivers feared him in the paddock, and not for the reasons you would hope. Definitely for the on-track though, but he was very crash prone, but he's done well to keep his nose clean in one of the more challenging races this year. So go back up front, Hugo now falling just under 6 seconds behind Wills. Wills has been able to really pull out that gap. And Bussy coming in as one of the favorites to be race winners and definitely on the podium, and he's at least proving that he can race up front. We'll have to see if he can pull some kind of long strategy here and try and get himself back in this race, but Wills is starting to outpace him when it comes to raw speed. Bussy finally able to make it. He's been intermittent guest appearances throughout the past seasons, finally able to make a full force effort for the season in that French themed Porsche 911. As we now switch to Restrepo here, 3 laps down and only 10 laps of racing, down in 16th place. And Matthew's been struggling with car pace, anywhere from 4 to 5 seconds off the pace of the leaders. It's been a tough opening couple rounds for him, flashing his lights at a car that he's not racing at all. And that's Sebastian Trujillo. That's not for position. Sebastian's in 6th place. 3 laps in front of where Restrepo is. But doesn't matter, because Restrepo is going to get on the curb, take too much curb on the entry of the bus stop, and he's going to run himself sideways into the wall. That's a hard impact. And it's just a miracle he still has lights to flash at this point. That looked like a heavy collision with the wall. He's able to rejoin. Luckily, not going to hold anyone up with that rejoin. We've seen a couple dangerous rejoins so far tonight and throughout the week. But yeah, frustrating weekend for Restrepo, no doubt, and that's just icing on the cake. As we see AJ Patton now chasing down Milwaukee, trying to get further up through the top 10 and try and climb back up. Maybe he can recover to a top 5, but frustrating days with the guy who started on the front row. And mistakes have told the story of both these two racers today, AJ Patton and Blake. Again, both running up front, and now AJ looking to the outside down in turn 7. What can he do in the brake zone? He's going to outbrake him. That Ferrari strong through the brakes, but he's wide. He's in the marbles. Milwaukee going to be able to defend, and just able to not quite pinch him off. But the Mercedes is going to pull down the straightaway. He's going to be back ahead. Will Patton looking for a move? Not here. He's not close enough. And AJ stuck behind him, clearly feeling frustrated that thinking he's the faster car. And it might be about time, 11 laps, to take pit stops. Will we see AJ try and undercut so he doesn't have to get stuck behind Blake? As running wide on exit, doing anything he can. AJ's going to stay out another lap. And he's going to try and get around Blake here. Clearly the faster car, but again, this is a tricky place to pass at unless you have a lot of overspeed and a lot of confidence. We know Patton's not lacking for the second one at the very least. But Blake been able to maintain through the first sector. That Mercedes seems to have a lot of pace on the straightaways. And these two battled last year for the AM title. And of course, Patton promoted to pro class. Blake staying in AM for another year. Patton charged down through the field in the final round to take the title away from Blake. And now they're meeting on track again in just the second round of season 4. So these two know what it's like to be locked in a battle together. Blake holding him off for now, much like he would have wished he'd been able to do at Misano last year, round 10. And interestingly enough, AJ not flashing his lights at Blake the way he was for those other cars that he wasn't racing. As they both run way wide in the penultimate corner, neither of them were ever going to make that. As we see Pat finally dive into pit lane here on lap 13. And Pat coming down to take his first pit stop of the night. Of course, we got to take 2 to get that Sunoco fuel and Michelin tires. We go back to Spencer Green here, running in 7th place in that satellite Porsche team. And there's quite a gap from him up to the top 6. Of course, also caught up in that AJ collision, trying to recover here. And already back to the top 10. Yeah, we certainly expect a lot from Spencer. He also got the call up to pro class this year. Have to see, can he make good on what he showed us last season? To go back to Chunko here, holding on now to 10th place. Must already come in for his pit stop. And yeah, we were listening to team radio and he was very frustrated, hot under the cockpit after it happened in lap 1. It seems like they started to get away from him a little bit, not able to catch back up to Tyler Bell. No doubt frustrating for Chunko, as we see a little wiggle there on the exit. And Oscar going to let him go by. Oscar, of course, 4 laps down. As we go back now, Justin Wills down to 4th place, taking his pit stop. Bussy deciding to stay out for a couple more laps. And we'll see, can that play into the Bussy strategy? We know that's probably where that team's at its strongest if it's not in pure pace. Wills now back in traffic. He's going to have to overtake Luis to get back into the podium. Of course, that's just on track. This is going to be the inherited race lead between him or Hugo. But he's 6 seconds clear by the time he pit. That baby got track racing Bentley. Gonna sweep around the outside of Louis Trujillo. Up the S's, they almost make contact, and Will's gonna have to back out of it for the moment. And flashing his lights in frustration, trying to get by. Louis gonna go defensive into the bus stop. And Justin late on the brakes, able to close back up. And he's pushing that Bentley around this track. All over the gearbox of Trujillo now. He doesn't want to get held up anymore. Any little second that he gets held up is going to put the advantage back to Bussy on that overcut. Louis going to run wide in turn 6. And Will's going to be able to get the rotation down to the inside. He's going to move back up now into second And Will's finally making that pass now for second. Cycle back to become the race lead. Bussy not able to do anything in the pit stop cycle. As we see Andrew Moreau finally catching back up after those 2 crashes that he had. And he's trying to fight his way back into the top 10, catching up to Riley Chunko. And for that number 10 spot. And what can Moreau do to move forward? One of the faster drivers, but he struggled a little bit in this season with the newcomers Trujillo and Bussy to the pro class. And he struggled too adjusting that Lamborghini. We've seen that jump from Super Trofeo back to the GT3 cars has been a big transition. His team and him have talked about it a lot. Struggling with setups, getting acclimated to the car. As we go back to Isaac, holding a spot in the top 10, now in 8. And he's gonna run wide, and he's in the grass. He's in the grass in turn 6. He just ran too wide, and the marbles pulled him off into the grass, and he's gonna go for a spin. And there's Chunko and Moreau. They're both gonna sweep by and move up into 8th and 9th respectively. And that's disappointing, as Dale was looking so good at, for the first time, looking super consistent. And now we see AJ all the way back in 13th now after his pit stop, chasing down Omar for 12th. And we've seen AJ's fiery personality behind the wheel already tonight, and that frustration will likely be continuing on as he's now in the bottom third of the grid. As he looks up the inside of Omar into turn 7, Omar going to leave plenty of space. AJ's going to complete that pass, swoop up into 12th. Going to be catching up to his old buddy Spencer Green in front now. These two making contact in almost every race together. We'll see. There'll be more later on. As Moreau closing in up the gap to Chunko now. He's under 6/10. Will he be able to get close enough to get some of that slipstream down this run straightaway up to the bus stop? And Moreau able to get close, but now Chunko able to stretch the gap back up to a second. And it's just a little bit of give and take. These cars, different strengths for different parts of the track. And a fairly equal match as we see Moreau flashing those headlights, trying to do anything he can to cause a distraction. This track is super dark. Very little places, very few spots on the track actually have any kind of artificial lighting. So something like that can be really distracting to the driver in front. And Moreau trying to use it to good effect. Moreau is still flashing those lights, but still not able to close back up through this part of the track as they both run super wide through the penultimate corner. And I think the stewards have probably elected to just ignore that. We've seen quite a lot of it tonight. Cars trying to carry a lot of speed through there. And Moreau now 1.3 behind. Chunko able to push out a little more time on that lap as well. And still just holding station here, 8th and 9th. 14 seconds up the road is Wesley Barker, so they're going to have to really focus forward to catch back up to him. But for now, Moreau just wants to stay in touch with Chunko ahead, not let him get too far up the road. And the Lamborghini clobbering those curves. And impressive. It looks like that car should be getting more upset than it is. Moreau doing well to keep it under control. There's more flashing the lights. And Moreau out wide again, and that corner's caught a lot of people out. He's into the wall there, turn 6. And but able to set him straight. He's kind of able to chastain the wall and ride it back onto the track. As we go back to AJ Patton, now working his way on the back of Spencer Green. And these two have definitely not made peace today on the track. AJ all over the back of him once again, looking down to the inside, down the front straightaway. Can he make a move into turn 1? He's already alongside. He's going to be able to swoop back in front by the time the braking zone's around. He's up into 11th now, making a charge for the top 10 again. And AJ, quite the aggressive racer. We see movement in the braking zone a lot from him. Of course, he was already clear of Spencer by then. So you go back on board to your race leader now, 18.5 seconds clear of Bussy. And it's been a pretty clear domination for him today. You saw a statement from Sebastian Trujillo last weekend, and now Will's looking to make a statement in spite of his struggles with that car all throughout the week. He's certainly well on his way to proving that to everyone. It's just Oscar going for a spin in front of the leader. And Will's, of course, defending. So one-time series champion here. He certainly knows how to wheel his way around this class. And showing it today in an unusual car choice. A lot of people said the Bentley wasn't going to be a good choice, and even he's echoed it at times. He thought he maybe made the wrong choice, but 19 seconds up the road, it's looking like maybe it wasn't such a bad one after all. As we see Sebastian now closing in, now he's up to 3rd. Closing on a Hugo Bussy here. And remember, all the way from the back of the grid, 20th place now onto the podium. And that's been in a fantastic charge. He's running 144s, which is about half a second quicker than anyone else, even in pro class. So putting on a clinic in terms of lap time, but it almost seems like that gap from the back, it might just be too far for him to try and take the race win, but he can at least look for the 2nd place over the next couple of laps. As we see Spencer now still just trying to chase down AJ and stay in touch. AJ made that pass down into turn 1, but not really able to pull away. Spencer's been able to get in his toe and just follow his lines around the track. And of course, he's not going to be happy to not only get taken out by AJ, but then get overtaken later in the race. So he's going to be doing everything he can to try and get back up there to him in the next couple of laps and try and re-overtake. Spencer with a wiggle there, 3rd to last turn, and that corner's caught people out as well. We remember last season Dezo Covey on his debut was running up front in the top 5 and spun exit of that turn, so definitely a treacherous corner. To go back on board to Riley Chunko, now up to 7th, and he's closed in 5 seconds on Barker, now just 11-second gap, and he's been able to stretch out that gap to Moreau. 6 seconds after Moreau made contact with the wall, and Chunko going to do the same thing that Moreau did, but he's going to go for a full 180 and able to reverse it for the 360 on the exit of the corner, and then Moreau comes back into view, and Chunko making that same fatal error. Moreau going to look down to the inside in turn 7. He's going to take the position, and there comes the race leader Justin Wills, and what's going on with traffic? Wills is pushing Chunko through the straightaway. Chunko not sure what to do. It got in the way of the race leader, and Moreau going to get out of the way for the race leader. That's what you're supposed to do. Not sure what Chunko is doing there. I guess thought pulling over was going to work, but clearly not. Will's giving him a boost down the straightaway, and Moreau getting out of the way actually gives Chunko the chance to go on the counterattack now. Chunko now within just a car length of Moreau. And wow, Will's very lucky to get through there unscathed. These two in their own battle, and a little bit of miscommunication in the dark at night, causing some issues there. But Will's now cleanly through, and he's probably going to pull away from these two, hopefully before any more shenanigans occurs. And yeah, Chunko's got to be feeling very frustrated now. But that's the ebb and flow of these endurance races, of course. Moreau had a wreck of his own in the exact same fashion. He's still fighting here in the top 10, so Chunko still within a shot to recover. But he's going to have to work hard to make this overtake if he can. Don't know what kind of car damage either of these two cars are dealing with at the moment. And Chunko running wide again, almost did the same thing a second time in a row. That would have been really, really embarrassing. But all over the back of Moreau, despite the car damage. Man, this has been an amazing battle, and I hope we'll get to see battles like this all year long throughout the top 10. But of course, two different classes, so this is for the pure overall. Chunko, of course, AM class, a rookie to this season, missed the opening round, trying to fight for top 10s, and trying to fight Andrew Moreau despite the class difference. Chunko with the toe down the front straightaway, flashing his lights, trying to blind Moreau, and they go nose to tail through turn 1. Chunko just pushing on the gearbox of Moreau through the exit. And Chunko flashing those lights like it's still a 70s disco, maybe trying to put him into an epileptic seizure if possible. As he looks to the outside, crazy drive through the S's, and they're going to go side by side in the bus stop as they make contact. And Chunko gonna back out of it, let Moreau go through. Not quite feeling brave enough. Like we said, you need to have a lot of courage to pass here. Chunko not quite bold enough to get it done there. He's gonna back out of it for now. But clearly has no problem. He's still flashing those lights. Don't you know those things cost money? And he's gonna run wide again. He did the same thing again. And it's caught a lot of people out, but to catch you out twice. And that might put the nail in the coffin. There's going to be a lot of car damage. He's still flashing his lights, though. Maybe a last-ditch attempt. But Moreau finally getting some breathing space there. Had to do all the chasing and then had to do all the defending. But now with a bit of room from Chunko, really struggling on turn 6. And we've seen a couple drivers, including Moreau, get caught out there. And your braking marker for that turn is really hard to see at night. But of course, a lot of these guys have now adjusted. Chunko clearly struggling here in his first ever race, as we see Moreau now diving in for his second pit stop. And Chunko also going to dive in. He's going to have to try and fix that damage. As we see the field is now starting to thin out. A couple of disqualifications for track limits or for pit lane speeding. Lane speeding's been a problem. Of course, Justin Wills several times saw the races taken away from him last year for the very same thing. As we see Chunko and Moreau both stop in their boxes, take their service. Michelin 4 fresh tires and some Sunoco fuel as we go back. JJ Elliott holding on to 12th. Had a real quiet race from him. Looks like the car is in pretty clean shape and just trying to scout out these early races of the season and just build, hopefully mount some top 10 charges here towards the end of the year. But another one of those Ferrari entries. As we move back to Spencer Green, now up to 7th. After all the chaos that ensued between Moreau and Chunko, Patton and Green able to move ahead of them now. Patton up to 6th, Green up to 7th, and they're in a decent rebound from the start of that race, but I'm not sure how much further up the road they'll be able to progress. Of course, AJ, the first car a lap down, so this is probably all the inroads he'll be able to make. As you go back on board, Sebastian now back to 5th place after the pit stops all cycled out. And we're going to have to see Kenny push forward. Bell up to 3rd for the moment being. Be able to retake that position now through all the pit cycle. Bell, of course, got there early in the race, able to move forward from the 3rd row of the grid up into the 3rd position. Now we go see Hugo trying to put a lap on JJ here. And will JJ get out of the way? Looks like he's going to make contact with Hugo. Just didn't see the 2nd place driver at all in the dead of night. I suppose it's an easy mistake to make, but you got to be more attentive. Those blue flags will be going off all over the dashboard. And maybe just a bit of fatigue this late in the race. 2/3 through this endurance round. But luckily Bussy was unscathed. Go back on board Sebastian. And yeah, trying to charge forward. He's catching these guys in front. Just a couple seconds out now. He may be able to catch them over the next 3, 4, 5 laps. And a lot of pace to come through the field the way he has. In the hot dog water number 4 Ferrari in the all white livery. Oops. Blake Milwaukee now up into 3rd place. Again, not sure if he's here on strategy or if he's just off cycle. As we see Blake very wide, and I guess it doesn't matter. Sebastian going to slot up into the podium places now. Blake back to 4th. And one of the easier overtakes that Sebastian would have made today. As we see Sebastian get around Oscar as well. Now 5 laps down. As we go on board here with Riley Chunko. And in clean air now, he's 26 seconds behind Louis in 9th place in kind of no man's land here in 10th. And disappointing day for him. A couple crashes, some in his control and some that were not, but for sure disappointing day on debut. But looking to just bring it home here. Just under a 1/3 of the race left. See a lot of his Ferrari rivals able to get around him. As we go back to AJ working his way up through the field, and he's got a 30-second stop-go penalty already. And I'm assuming that is going to be a pit lane speeding penalty. But he's chasing down Louis here for 8th place, and 2 Ferraris battling it out. As we see Patton back to 9th. Green up in 6th still, maybe looking to make the top 5 if he can get around Bell. He's within 2.5 seconds, it might be possible. And that would be an amazing recovery for Green if he could do that. But not so good for the guy who took him out. And it looks like AJ might be on his way to disqualification. As we see Green and Bell even closer now on track. Green is now underneath a second, almost half a second. He's closing in on Bell, who's been up front for a majority of this race, but maybe starting to see the race get away from him here at the end. And Green, a fantastic recovery drive. Already up to the top 5, but if he can even get a 4th out of this, that would put him back around where he started. And that would be, not the day he wanted, but for sure a drive he can be proud of. Coming back from damage right from the race start, and a race that's an hour long, that can be really demoralizing, but the team able to stay positive and now pushing forward for top 4. Not quite close enough to make a move, but he's inching closer every corner, and he's now within a couple car lengths. If he can get a swing up the S's, he may be able to make something happen. He's out into the marbles, and ooh, that could have been scary. Those marbles can pull the car up into the wall, and that can be the end of your race. But Green just getting 2 tires on, but definitely a little bit of a scary line as he looks to the inside here into the bus stop. Just sticking his nose out, not really trying to make a move. Just trying to make sure Bell knows his presence is there, although I'm sure the headlights gave it away too in the dead of night. But yeah, Green slowly chipping away now. He's under half a second through some parts of the track, especially that drive he got down the straightaway and into the bus stop. But Bell not one to crack under pressure, so Green's gonna have to work exceptionally hard here if he wants to get around. Even if he does have the pace advantage, he looks really good on the exits of these corners. He's getting great drives down the straightaway. He's going to have a nose in, but again, not able to make a move. The Ferrari just too good under the braking, but Green definitely looking like the faster cars. He's going to stick his nose in again. And at this point, I'm convinced he's just trying to see if he can get that car with the wheel inside and make something happen. Whether or not it's really going to work, I think he's the one to find out. Bell running wide in the penultimate turn. Green's tighter line is going to help him out. And can Green get another fantastic drive on the exit of this corner and get into the slipstream? And it looks like he does, but I'm not sure he's close enough down into turn 1. But again, just going to pop out half the lane and see if anything will stick. Bell running wide again, and maybe that pressure is starting to get to him as Green looks to the inside up the S's. And Green's going to have the line without marbles as Green's going to move up into 4th place. Fantastic recovery drive from Spencer Green today, moving up to 4th. Fantastic several lap battle between him and Bell. Green just chipped away little by little and was quite aggressive, making his presence known, sticking his nose up the inside quite a few spots, but finally getting the car alongside there a whole 2 laps later. Will Bell be able to retaliate here? We've seen you might not want to be super close in front of him coming into this exact series of corners. Chunko learned that earlier in the race. And we'll see if Bell has an answer here. Again, that Ferrari just so good under the brakes. He's able to close up so much time. He might actually be able to make a re-overtake as he's right on the bumper of Green. Coming out of the exit of that corner, closed up so much time in the braking zone. And he's just 2 car lengths back, and again, closes up half a car length to a car length every brake zone. And Bell might do better with the car to chase rather than a car to defend. We'll have to see. As Bell's going to try and battle back in these 2 purple cars. And Bell all of a sudden looking way more racy, although really wide on the exit of the final corner. And it looks like Spencer may start to finally pull that gap out as we move back up to the front. Justin Wills, 17.5 seconds clear. And a dominating victory if he can hang on to it. Just a couple more laps to go. but I bet this is coming as a surprise to his entire team at Baby Got Track Racing. They were struggling so much this whole week, and now you wouldn't even know it. They're the clearly dominant car. Of course, besides Sebastian, who had to start from the back. But yeah, it's been a fantastic race. We saw him make that pass on Hugo on the first couple laps, and we've not seen anything else since when it comes to people up front. We thought maybe Hugo have a response, but he's now almost 27 seconds back, and of course dropped down to third. Sebastian, all the way from the back, is now closed and is now the closest to Wills, and the two fastest cars are the two that are up front, but Wills, of course, starting from the front row, and that's going to be the biggest difference between the two of them. As you go back to Moreau in 7th place, and what's going to be a decent result for him, not going to beat out on some of those quicker AM guys today, going to be behind Bell and Mulkey, but a decent recovery. Again, had the contact with the wall, got caught in a battle with Chunko, who's also an Inter, but yeah, from your defending champion, yeah, slower start to the season than what we'd expect, but again, big adjustment moving to this GT3 Lamborghini. A bit of a setup struggle too, just like, you know, Baby Got Track Racing was talking about. But clearly this garage hasn't quite got it fully figured out yet. Go back to AJ, worked his way back to 10th place, and I'm not really sure what's happened here. We saw him up in 6th and 7th with Spencer there, about 2/3 of the way through the race, but as we're coming down to the closing couple of minutes, he's all the way back to 10th, so obviously had to serve that stop and go. That probably really hurt him, but just kind of threw this race away right at the beginning to turn 1, just way too late. A car that you can get on the brakes pretty late, he managed to go a step too late and kind of took himself out, you know, just literally into turn 1. And just every step of the way, him and Spencer battling back through. It seems like Spencer's really had the upper hand mentally, and that's allowed Spencer to get back up to the, you know, to the top 5, and Patton's all the way down here in 10th, despite starting on pole position, being your fastest car of the race. As we go on board here, Hugo Bussy. It was a good fight there early on, led a couple of the early laps, but ultimately the race got away from here. We were hoping to see maybe he could pull something on strategy, but it wasn't to be. And the team's going to have some work to do later in the season. We've seen him win some races. Last year he was able to make it out to Zandvoort, and him and Sebastian put on a show, both just picking up for that one race. And Bussy got the better of Sebastian then, but Sebastian's really come alive here in his first full season as we go on board with him now. Again, was the fastest car there at Zandvoort last year. Struggled with the strategy side of things, had some really poor strategy calls from the team, and that ultimately cost him those 2 race wins. Bussy was there to get the better of him on strategy, but Sebastian, since in the offseason, really dug deep, and that team has figured something out. And they've really found another level. Sebastian has a lot of pace, one of the fastest drivers, maybe the fastest driver in this field. And it seems like the strategy side has really come a long way too. And that's no doubt going to make him a huge title contender when we look at this 10-race series. And we go here to Blake Mulkey. Fighting his way back to 6th place, and an impressive comeback for him. He struggled throughout the day. Now just a couple more laps in this race, up to 6th. But you got to think, what could it have been? He had a lot of pace. He always does have a lot of pace. But ultimately, it's those little mistakes throughout the race. Send it into the wall, send it into other cars sometimes. Luckily not today. But just these mistakes you see throughout the season, and that's what really hurts him. He has the pace, and he did well to recover the second half to get back up into 6th. You got to think, are we looking at a podium? Are we looking at a top 5? Ultimately, he could have had this class win between him and Tyler Bell. Tyler Bell's going to get this inter win, but it could have been just as easily going to Blake if he'd just been able to keep his nose clean. And of course, still young in his driving career, he has a lot of time to work on these things. I think the most important thing is that the pace is there. The pace is the hardest thing to really train. It's just these other fundamentals, like, you know, the mistakes and some of the carelessness. But he's young, and I'm sure he'll be able to mature out of it. Guy with a lot of talent, but for sure is just going to have to sit in 6th for now. As we see Patton all over the back of Bell, that 5th place car, your inter leader. And of course, this isn't for position, but Patton doesn't seem to know or care, as he's all over the back of Bell, even though he's 2 laps down. And he's going to try and duke it out here. And you've got to think, will Bell just let him go by? Or these 2 fiery-willed competitors duke it out for 0 benefit? But I'm thinking it's the latter option if I know the 2 of these drivers at all. Of course, the smart thing would be to just let Patton go by. Patton all over the back of Bell, just about pushing him through the corner. And again, this isn't even for position, so this might be one of the best battles in the late part of this race. As we go back on board with Capital One, final lap of the race. Wills is led nearly wire to wire. Race from the front row. Bussey was able to get in front from the start, but Wills quickly chased him down. He's led every meaningful lap since. No pit strategy or pure pace was able to stop him. Sebastian wasn't able to catch him. Bussey wasn't able to out-strategize him. And this car wasn't able to slow him down. Wills has taken every threat and every piece of adversity that's been thrown at him this week. He's turned it into a dominating victory now. 15 seconds is the 2nd place car. Sebastian behind. No one has been close. And Justin has really put on a clinic. And again, we've said it'll be a season of statement drives, and it looks like it's another statement drive from Justin Wills, as he just has a couple more corners to go before he can take home the victory here at Watkins Glen. And you know the team's going to be celebrating all the work they did to set this car up. Every setup going in every direction, just trying to make something stick. And boy, did they get something. As they battled through the evening into the night, Justin Wills is going to be victorious at the Watkins Glen 1 hour. He comes around the final corner now to take the checkered flag. Baby Got Track Racing, you're in victory lane. Justin Wills takes the win here at Watkins Glen. And what a fantastic fashion. Sebastian Trujillo also coming all the way from the back of the grid, 20th up to 2nd, wasn't quite able to get to that final step of the podium, but a fantastic drive for him, although it looks like he may be just... And we see Hugo Bussey rounding out the podium, not able to take the fight up front, but able to stay on the podium with a good drive for him on the strategy side. But yeah, we see Sebastian still leading in points here over Justin, but Justin maybe starting to be able to close that gap.